Good evening. We are going to continue our hard work here, and so this is the work we have to do here, and we are going to give feedback to the performances that we saw today. And there is interpretation. Channel 1 is Estonian, Channel 2 is English, and Channel 3 is Russian. So please take your devices. And as Olga told us, authors of the first performance are not here among us at the moment. The first one is The Lost Daughter, made by Kazakhstan. And then we would like to start our discussion with the performance from Kyrgyzstan, and it's called Weightlessness. And we have seen the team here, and we have seen the two beautiful actresses from Kyrgyzstan. They are here, so please give them a round of applause. As yesterday, as a gentleman, I'm going to be a moderator, and these two beautiful ladies who are experts in the area of theaters, they are going to speak about the performances. I'm just going to add a few comments on behalf of myself. So, first of all, Weightlessness. This is a story, as I understood it, is about the life and the life of women in Kyrgyzstan. So, Kadi, would you like to start? Yes, I will. So, first of all, I would like to say that it's a very beautiful, and it's very beautiful about the role of a woman and about the way she smiles. She smiles, she keeps smiling, and that it just becomes, it just turns into rage at a certain point. And it seems to me that this is just, it's not only about women in Kyrgyzstan in general, but it's about actresses as well, because the text that we see, it's clear that it's the destiny of an actress, and how to combine the role of a woman who is expected to take care of the house, of the family, of the bring up children, smile to her husband, and at the same time she has her artistic destiny. And as the performance, the narrator says that it's very rare that somebody can do that in her life. But the performance is actually its artistic structure. It seems simple, but it's actually very concrete, and it's very the approach. And the actresses use these the devices and the means that they have. They don't have much. They just have 4 pieces of clothes, 4 kaftans, that actually they make a baby out of those, and they turn, and the woman uses some kind of transformations. And this is the type of performance, while it doesn't speak on a very easy topic, but at the same time it leaves a very kind impression on you, and you leave with this light mood. Olga, what do you think? So this is the first time I've seen this performance, and it was today. For me, that was about collecting power, accumulating power. Although yes, women in the East, they're more acceptable, but at the same time, this is about the about the fact that on the inside this woman, although not depending how humble she is, but there is still the fire inside of her, there is explosion inside of her. And in this performance, it seemed to me that it was very important that the acceptance of not only the context, not only of this situation, the status, but also the acceptance of her own fire that's burning inside of her and allowing this fire to shine through. And I'd also think it's interesting that it's for the second year here on the festival we see feminist performances, and there are women like living inside the performance, but at the same time directors are men. Well, okay, there are two directors of this performance, and nevertheless it's still, I think it's still like it shows something, and maybe it's about a pro-feminist orientation of Kyrgyz men. Is that true? The most important thing is that both this performance and the performance that I'm going to talk about, that I talked about, that we had last festival, that's how things are in my world. So it seems like these performances are made in dialogue and love. And I think this is the biggest value of these. And this is also the biggest value of the independent theater in Central Asia, because this is all according to some kind of this is about very emotional and very deep agreement, and it's about consent, it's about love, and it's about friendship. I would also add on behalf of myself, I would also add that I like the performance very much, and it remains within my soul. It's not something that you accept with your mind, but I accepted it with my heart and my soul. It was very beautifully decorated, and the costumes, it was all elegant and professional. And also the mirrors that were there on the left. And actually, I started watching the performance. That there was a mother and a daughter, because there was the text that this mother made her daughter go and study, and then I understood that it was not important. Although it was not important that what the synopsis says about, like, emphasizes that this is the life of women in Kyrgyzstan. I didn't actually see the national features, if we can say so. We can just show the same thing about Estonian women. And actually, like, this feeling that both actresses, they work as a team, they played and they showed as if it was like one person. And in my soul, I have only this very positive feeling about this performance. Thank you very much. May I just add one moment? It was very interesting, and it was a theatrical, this episode, when maybe contextually it was not understood here. That in the tradition of the Central Asia, there is such a thing that we call Salim Salu. This is when the daughter-in-law comes into the man's house. She bows to the family of her husband. So it was, when she bowed, like, people didn't understand, but that was actually how to react. But that is the tradition that was shown on stage, so it had an additional layer of sense. And now we actually would like to this audience to provide their feedback to this performance, especially to the director and to the actresses. If there are any questions or you would like to say something, you're welcome to. I don't see any hands. Do you agree with what we have just said? Oh, there is somebody. Okay. Please.
Hello, I'm a dramaturg from Finland. A question to the artists. Well, thank you for the performance. It was really beautiful. It was there was a tenderness and a softness which I really, really enjoyed. I have a question about the costume design. The costumes were very beautiful, but I got the feeling that perhaps there was a cultural significance or symbolism that didn't really open up to me, because I don't really know Central Asian culture that well. So would you like to tell us something about the idea behind the costume design? Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Thank you very much for your feedback about the performance. And actually, costumes, they are actually traditional Kyrgyz national costumes. And we actually consulted an ethnographer who is a specialist in costumes. And actually, for us, even if a person from Kyrgyzstan looks at these costumes, they will just say like, well, this is a beautiful dress. But in fact, we actually considered all the details. We tried to consider all the details, how our ancestors, foremothers, what they wore, like you saw the coat and the national dress. These are actually traditional Kyrgyz dresses. Is there any other questions or comments? I have a question about the same topic. At the end, were those men's coats, or because they were different from your ones? Because Europeans men's they would put the left side on top, but you put the left side on top as well. So. Okay, I don't see any other people wishing to ask anything. Okay, yes, please. I would like to add about the costume. Actually, it's the tradition about Kazakh theater. During the Soviet Union time, it was about to invent the so-called national costume, which was just to export, it was just to show off and to export. It was much brighter, much more colorful, much more exotic than the actual costume that people wore in their everyday life. And what I saw now in the performance is actually very simple, basic, everyday costume with the minimal amount of details and with the very simple, made from very simple fabric. And actually, I did not see this attempt to make it more exotic. And I think it's very important. It's through visualization. It's very important to actually get in the read of this concept of what we can look like in the eyes of people who do not know our culture. I'm very thankful to you for that. Please.
Thank you for the very, very beautiful, extraordinary show. And I have basically two questions. First is about the concept behind the set design, this white cube you were performing in. I personally think of it as the mindset of an artist who has a lot of ideas about what it means to do art, and this is maybe how a bit naive we all are. This is how I thought this may represent, but it's very poetic, so probably you had another concept. That's the first question. The second question is about the story we heard as a voiceover. If that was a story of one of you, the performers, or you recorded, whom you record, who is speaking from the voiceover in your show?
I'm sorry that I am the only one who actually speaks. I'm the only one who understands English. I am actually the artist and director. Thank you very much. Yes, for me, myself, first of all, it was very important. I would still very much like how we did that for each participant, for each member of our team. we actually had a challenge. For example, for our directors, they work in stage theater, and all the time they had, for example, Becca, our main director. She's also a choreographer, and we have the second director, and their tandem. They worked with us, and they have worked together for quite a long time in the stage theater. And they also wanted to have like a physical theater, but they would still go into the area of dance, and they were slightly disappointed. And then later, Shamil asked me to do something together, and they wanted to do something like a physical theater with no dance or with no entertainment, but they wanted to be something with a body reaction. And so if we talk about scenography, it was also a challenge for me, because all the performances I had before that, they were simple, they were very like poor, if I can say so. I wanted to do something that would be like a total installation, and so that it would not be it would be simple, but it would still occupy all the space, so that would also be very functional, maximally functional, so that it would move and change together with the space. And I think that it was something that I achieved. And your second question is, for me, for us, these are the two actresses, and actually we have two different voices, because even in Kyrgyzstan people think that it's one voice, but these are two different stories. This is the auto fiction. These are our two women that are on the stage. These are their personal stories. I think this is why it is so sincere. Yes, this is our director. I'm sorry. What about scenography? I would also like to add that here in Narva at the festival, thank you very much for the organizers. They made us such a great space, but this is synthetic. Here, like in Bishkek, we actually do that with wool, and with 100% wool. This is our culture, and for us it was very important. Yes, thank you very much. I just want to emphasize that sometimes this was a joke, and sometimes we can't really say when he's joking or when not. Of course, it was a joke. It was a joke. So, yes, we sometimes have to stop men when they're talking. It was a joke. Alexander Krysko, professional spectator. I would like to talk about why I liked the performance. It was a theater as it started, what it is in its sense, and theater started as something to do. It started with plastics, with sound, with storytelling, which happened not in physical space, but it happened in the spiritual space. That's why I liked it so much. But as I'm a European, and it's quite difficult for me to think about this spiritual, magical kind of way, I would like to ask about symbolism. I saw two robes. These are two chapans, as they said in Kyrgyz language. Can we talk about the message that they want to say, the directors want to say? Is that some kind of message that all these stories is about, that you should not wear the chapan, it's not yours? So there are actresses, she had to choose between the baby and her career. She preferred the baby and her home, and that at the end we see that one woman is wearing a chapan in an easy way, and the other one cannot put chapan on. So it's like a mother and a woman, but for me it was maybe like an alter ego, one and the same woman, transferring during some time, like 20 years before and after. Maybe she was talking to her inner self. So my question is, can we actually say that in a very simple way, like, do not put on chapan that is not yours? Is it what was the message of the performance? Well, actually, I think as the way that you look at it and the way you understand it, we cannot say what is right and what is wrong. If you ask us what was the the idea that we put in the performance. We cannot say that we put there. This is for us Japan. This is our national costume, national clothes. This is about the roots. This is about how important it is to accept and to understand your traditions and your way. Like at the beginning, when our actresses put on, like first you accepted somebody accepted immediately, somebody accepts it afterwards. So that is about the way, and at the end, like you still need to accept it so that you can feel this. So because you cannot resist. Until all the time. I'm sorry. When we actually worked on this performance, I was was a sound designer. I was a light designer, but for me, this performance, to be honest, when I worked in this team, and maybe my team members will not agree with me, but for me, it was about decolonization, our inner decolonization, because when we were just we were under pressure of European world, Russian world. So this is also the attempt to find who we are in this world. So actually, this is about the story about Japan. So when we have this is beautiful red. This is ours, but we cannot put it on. So, but the team does not agree with me. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. So both Japans were beautiful. This is the fact. Thank you. Yes, there was there was another comment. Yes, please. I would like to say thank you very much for the performance, and I would also to share my impression. During the whole performance, I had a feeling of feeling compassion to these women, because the way I understood their situation, they were very lonely. That was important for me. Not only the challenges that they were facing, but also that there was nobody close to them who would just tell them just very usual words like "I love you," like "I understand you," "I will help you," "I'm with you," "You are talented," "You are wonderful the way you are." I think this was not their situation, because she was like continuously she was still different. She was not learning the way everybody was expecting. She was not looking the way somebody expected. She was lied to. She was so that actually made me feel very kind of sorry for her, compassionate to her, and even taken into consideration everything, all of that, this loneliness, they still had the light and the love and the fire that Olga told about at the beginning of this discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think anything else? Yes.
Hello. I want to share my warmest congratulations to the team, because I really enjoyed the performance. While watching it, I also thought that the narration that we heard was from the actors, as it mentioned before. So I would like to ask, did you use any specific narrations from any other woman in order to create those narrations? Did you use any document, actually?
That was a question, I think, to the director.
It's for the director team, actually, the question.
Перевод был там?
Whose stories are they?
Yeah. Whose stories are they actually? That's what I asked.
These are this documental physical performance. So the stories that are told, these are the personal stories of the two actresses, of the two women on the stage. We did not use any other people's stories for this performance because actually from the very beginning it was meant for the actresses' work because they work in state theaters and most of the time they do not use their bodies in some kind of while we understand that body is an actress's instrument, it is still a taboo topic, a very close topic, and for them it was also a challenge. So that was like a super laboratory method. We worked on this performance for a year. We did not have a script. We didn't have an idea how we were going to do that. So that's why we had very small scenes. And we worked on it for about a year, just thinking how we were going to do that. And there were a lot of things, a lot of stories that they did not agree with, and that they decided not to talk about those stories on stage. But I think that they were very sincere, and we're very thankful to them for that. And what was mentioned here, that it is a story about women that nobody told beautiful words to. Well, today I think you heard a lot of beautiful words, and that is very nice. So shall we move on, or does anyone else want to add anything? Okay. In the morning, we saw two mono performances. This one was from Kazakhstan and the other one was from Kyrgyzstan that were made. They were like, so those when it was all made by one person, directed and performed and written. So if we can just call them like performances, because for them, for me, mono performances is like a transformation. So they, because these people were speaking for themselves, and the first of them was from Kazakhstan. It was The Lost Daughter. Yes, maybe you would like to explain a few things. Yes, I would like to provide some context for these two performances because they were created in the same theater laboratory and by the same method. So I would like to start with the idea, well, my personal feelings as the ambassador of the Central Asian theater. We in the Central Asia have a great, very friendly community of independent theater. And we have been working like as that for like last 7 years. There are a lot of interest in collaborations and meetings on the territory of all the countries of the Central Asia. And most of them are in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. These are the countries where independent theaters is developed and is developing quite intensively. And the oldest theater of Central Asia is in Holm, which is located in Tashkent. It is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary, so it's been there since the Soviet Union. It was one of the first independent theaters in the Soviet Union. So Holm, for more than 20 years, has a great tradition of conducting different laboratories of directors. They are organized every 2 years. So sometimes these are laboratories by directors. Sometimes it's director plus, like director plus art manager, director plus choreographer. And last year, El Holm Theatre had laboratory for script writers. And when we talk about script writers, we actually talk about like some like last 5 years when Central Asia writers, and most of them it's writers from Kazakhstan, became a phenomenon, became an industry. And our colleagues from Uzbekistan are trying to catch up with Kazakhstan. If we look at the number of writers and attention to writing. And now in home, this is the way that this idea of laboratory was born. And last year, theatre invited 2 curators to actually collect, to gather people from Central Asia who write for theatre and have this laboratory to write text. And Elena Kowalskaya, maybe quite a few of you know who that person is. So she's a theatre critic, she's a theatre teacher and producer. And 2 performances that you watch today, The Lost Daughter and Ode to Freedom. This is Elena Kowalskaya debut as director. That's the first performances that she directed. Elena had... So she directed, but it doesn't say anywhere that she was directed. Well, actually on the website it should be that she was... So in the frames of this laboratory, there are 4 different directions, and Elena was curator of autofiction direction, and she actually had 4 students in this direction, and 3 of them had mono performances, and 2 of them were chosen to participate in this festival in Narva. And what is also I would like to add about these performances is that Almira and Aljamar, they're not professional actresses. Almira is the writer. She is a writer and she's a famous author in Kazakhstan, but as you understood, she has education as an actress, but she doesn't work as an actress. And Jamal, are you a musician? She's a singer. Jamal is a singer, performer, and she is now an actress because it's her second time at a festival as an actress, because she participated in the performance that we watched during the previous festival. Is there anything else? Well, this story about our Central Asia, as you understood from the performance, we are actually very interested in decolonization and this post-colonial narrative, and this is a very big part of modern theater, modern independent theater in Kazakhstan. Thank you for your information. And also, I would like to add this, that Kowalskaya was the guest of the first festival 4 years ago, and Ilhom performed 2 years ago here with their performance. And now, Kadi, what would you like about the Lost Daughter performance? Okay, I'll be the first one. So if I want to compare these performances, although, well, actually, it's not very good to compare anything in art. So, but if with the first performance, I don't have anything to. I don't have any negative, any critique to the author, because it was interesting. It was an interesting topic, those connections and identity and the language. So I have never heard about the story that in Kazakhstan there is a part of the people who did not live there but came to independent Kazakhstan from Mongolia and China. I just remember the phrase from the text, because they didn't speak neither Russian nor Kazakh, because they were like people of the second-rate, third-rate people in Kazakhstan, and how they could enter the society and could integrate. So as understood at the end of the performance, it was the topic of the importance of the national identity, or maybe it's not very important as we think. It's maybe not the most rational thing to talk about identity. Maybe I would just say some critique to the director, because for me it was quite a lecture. It was more a lecture than a mono performance, and actually the director or the performer did not think about the audience. I was in the 4th row, and actually the audience and the stage were on the same level, and when the people were put on this were sat, and there was some words written, and I couldn't see anything. I was sitting in the fourth row, so and then I think the person on the stage was speaking too fast, and but the topic itself and the fact that we became smarter and we became more aware and received new information. Thank you very much for that, Kadi. So for me, these two performances are actually quite opposite, because the first performance, The Lost Daughter, that we're discussing now, it was the topic of it. The topic was very interesting for us, as Jaak has already mentioned, and the facts were interesting. But yes, there were some problems with the performance itself, with the act of performing, because there was the feeling that the actress was very nervous over there at the stage,
Много текста.
and a lot of text was lost. And although I understand Russian, but sometimes I had to watch at the subtitles, because everything was like blurred. And on the other hand, the second performance, this ode to freedom, for me here, everything was very self-confidently performed, but there, from the beginning, I am not opposed to the theater that includes the audience, involves audience, but I don't like when the spectator is involved, when the audience has to participate, is made to participate in a performance. Here I thought that the author or so that the author takes away my freedom, and I was very annoyed by that in this performance. We already started to discuss the second performance, and actually, if the director and the performer makes a part of the audience to go on the stage, then we cannot forget that the rest of them stay on the other side of the stage. So we remained in the audience, and we did not hear about that. So if we talk about the second performance, if I did not have any critique to the first, to the author in case of the first performance, in case of the second performance, my critique goes to the author, because it was a very interesting beginning, but at the same time, if you actually talked about yourself and you actually initiated about quite a few actions of protests, and if your professional activist was like 100 or 500 different actions of protests, and you call yourself a protester, so what kind of profession is that? So then you turn to freedom, but for me that was there were a lot of cliches, and it was kind of like a primitive flow of phrases about freedom. I didn't hear anything like it. There were no discoveries for me in those texts, so it was like what freedom is. So I've already I think people who are 14-year-old, you can talk to them like that, but Olga, please disagree with me or add your comments. I will not disagree with you. I just want to say that both these performances are stories, again, about when I talked about Mark's performance, that was about in memory, is about how a big historic context leads to the author being born. And if we talk about Jamal and Almira, in this situation, we receive on the opposite. We see from how the story of each performer, we see the big context of a country being developed. How from Almira and from her destiny, we get to know about Candace's and about different issues related to Kazakh alphabet, and from Jamal we learn, and from her issues and her relationship with her dad, and from a man and her friends, we get to know about the story of protest movement of Bishkek. Maybe there was not enough context, or maybe there was not enough context to be understood for an audience from Europe. But when we watch this performance in Almaty or in Bishkek, we understand that a lot of things are related to protests, and then also among all those countries in Central Asia, for a long time until not long ago, Kyrgyzstan was the country with the most freedom, which could allow itself to give birth to such women who have 50 actions of protest that they conducted. But I remember that the performance ended with the phrase that if I did not find the big love, if I found the big love, I would stop doing all those protests. What is it so? So is it a joke? I actually took it very seriously. I wish you find your big love. Olga said that these personal moments actually make a puzzle of a big picture, or make this big picture of a life in Central Asia. Well, actually, in these performances, I felt that I did not have enough of those personal moments. For me, there was a lot of cliches. And out of these three or mono performances which we talked about, I think for me only the performance that we saw yesterday was a discovery for me. I would not call today's ones like a fully fledged theatrical event. Would anyone like to share impressions about either one, two, or three performances? You can disagree, you can give your feedback, ask questions. Okay. Oh, we have somebody.
I just want to disagree with this criticism towards involving the audience in the performing arts, because actually, as someone who represents younger generation, I think this is the moment when you can experience the power of the theater, when you are together with other people. And for me, the moment when people don't want to participate is very sad, because it means that even in those very safe conditions of the theater, we cannot perform the democracy anymore. So people cannot find their strength to stand up for the things that used to be or should be important for the society. And this is very alarming, especially in the perspective of the rise of global far right. So I found that if people lost the ability to discuss the philosophical question of freedom, it means that there is something very wrong happening to us as people who think of themselves as Democrats.
Насколько я помню, Оля, прошлый...
As I remember, Olga, last festival, there was a theater from Kyrgyzstan when they showed the performance that women protested, and they played in the basement, and so there was It was Bishkek. Yes, it was. It was a performance. Jamal was a part of that. So that was a performance. But I didn't understand what they were protesting for. It was a good political theater. It was one of the 50 protests that Jamal took part in. So then I understood what it was about. But here, for me, that today's performance was just about the phrase of freedom. I think you underappreciate the role of personal stories, and that the format of the theater that you are missing, it's not actually the main here. There are a lot of formats. There's performance, there is lecture, and the fact that so that to tell a private story, like girls are choosing a different format that is traditional drama theater, I think it's quite normal. And I think you just need to get used to it and to treat it with understanding and do not critique it anyway. Of course, any theater format can be done well and can be done such a way that stays in my soul. Maybe then next year you can do your own performative lecture, and you can see what you done. Well, last year too, you did it the way last festival you didn't like it. There were other questions why I did not like it, but the idea and the content I understood it 100%. And yesterday's in memory, I think everybody liked it. So the format, it was non-traditional format as well. It was not a lecture, if we talk about yesterday's. So do you have any other feedback about these two performances? I would like to... I have so that we have a suggestion, so that people who actually make a comment, so that you could at least say where you're from, what your name is, and so I'm from Kiev. I'm a playwright, and I would like to say about my impressions from Ode to Freedom. For me, it was important that during this performance there were a lot of moments when I laughed. And for me, it's very important because laughter is one of the ways how freedom is expressed, and one of the possibilities for freedom. And it was there, it's very important. And I also would like to say that I did not want to write notes. I did not want to go on stage, because I wanted to describe not the situation in my society or in my life, but I wanted more to get to know about the reality, about the context of the performance, but not about myself. I didn't want it all, but actually I didn't do that. So I did not do the poster, I didn't write the notes, and so on. So I did not see it as something sad that I refused, or that somebody else refused to do that, because I think it's also one of the ways of freedom to say that I don't want to make a poster. Why? For some reason. And I also think it's very important that what kind of freedom it is, like my personal freedom, if I am told to make a poster, and I'm making a poster, but I don't want to make the poster. So, or for example, it hurts for me to discuss something when we have to discuss if there is or there is no freedom in my society. So, and if we start discussing why there is no freedom in my society, and lasts for several hours. So I think it is important that there was a possibility to say no, and we use that possibility. I use that possibility, and I think it's also one of the ways that freedom is expressed. Thank you. I also use that possibility. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to talk about this performance? Nobody? Okay. All right. So then we have the last performance from Georgia. Of course, we are very happy to see here representatives of the great Georgian theaters, who we remember in the Soviet time was one of the leading, the most interesting theaters in the Soviet Union. We remember these great names, and recently connections with the Georgian theater in Estonia became not that strong. And we actually have a question. I have a question. Theater of Poti, has it been in to Estonia before? No. Okay, they performed in Tartu. All right, I see that. Okay. We performed in Tartu, Dead Cities, and we had such a performance. And now our theater is in Estonia for the second time. When did you perform in Tartu? Before pandemic. In 2020. And today we watched the performance that was called Anna's Moment. And as I understand, this is a modern Georgian play. And I just have a question: if the play was written especially for you, or how was the play written? Could you explain it in a few words?
This is the Roman, the modern Georgian writer Mari Bekauri. This roman is not right for us, especially. It's a roman for everything and everyone. Then we communicate this author, and we explain some topics, and we decide to play this roman and then performance it.
Так что это инсценировка, можно сказать, романа.
Да.
Хорошо.
Okay. So as the performance was quite short, here in the program it says 80 minutes. I think you actually shortened the novel quite a lot. Colleagues, please, your impressions? Yesterday I talked about actually that the program of the festival, we don't want to talk about the form, but in its performance I would like to talk about the form, because during the break it was interesting for me. There was a break of the genre, and it was interesting for me to get to know that it was actually it was interesting for me to understand that in the first part I had the feeling that it was like a detective story, like a thriller, because we had this feeling of, okay, what's going to happen next? How is the story going to develop? Because if you read the synopsis, when the most of it is about the story of the political story, and then there was nothing about politics about the first part, and then what happened in the second part. First of all, I really wanted there to be like a trigger warning, because it was horrifying, it was physiological, and it was like somebody, although it was a description of violence, it was very short, but it was very difficult to accept, to live through that, and you don't expect that. And of course, you cannot refuse the team in the importance of living this trauma through the theater. But it was a shock for me what I heard, not what I saw, but what I heard. How, like a genre, like a format, was very, very interesting. But as the content, I was shocked. But it was not like shocked in a good way, because it can't. And actually, well, like the most important thing that colleagues and I talked about after the performance, I want actually to ask the team: do you play this? Do you show this performance at home, in your home country? Can you do that in such a text in Georgia? And how do audience accept it? We still can do that. And we're lucky that we can still do that. And then we will continue, and then we'll give audience a chance. For me, like if we talk about Russia's war crimes, there is nothing to add. Well, all those things that happened in Ukraine, everybody, well, these things became known all over the world. Of course, we read about those things. What happened during Abkhazian and Georgian war? Well, for me, we like such information did not reach Estonia, and or we heard about it. So maybe it was quite a long time ago, and we may have forgotten about that. So, if what concerns this performance, then if I had not known, now I know that it was based on a novel, but then I had critique towards the author. But now if it's a novel, because for me it was like the story was quite primitive. But if I know it's a novel, but it's interesting. It would be interesting for me to read the novel. And Kadi, what do you think? Well, I actually have a question to the team about why you decided to take the novel and not some kind of documentary.
I think that there is some documentary points, and it's important for us and for our country to speak about this war, speak about the past, because we need to say that we remember everything, we remember our pain, and the Russian aggression, we remember all this. So this is documentary novel, this is documentary theater, this performance, so we will try to speak about our pain, and it's very important for us in this city to speak this, our past, and let's say maybe our future. So,
but at the beginning, the title said it's a fictional story.
Yeah, but there are some topics fictional. The monumental, it's documentary basic story. What happened in the war Abkhazia. So. And it's some novel, but beautiful, some kind of situations. But this is a normal documentary story.
Okay, so the war crimes are documentary, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Clarifies a lot.
But actually, this explosion in the Britain TV studio, we think that. I know that, as we know, in England actually started investigating Russian war crimes. So, is there anybody who would like to add their comments, give feedback, ask questions? Is there anyone?
Ukrainian. I'm from Ukraine. I'm Ukrainian veteran, and here I'm with my Ukrainian team. I just wanted to say thank you for Georgian team, because we have mutual pain, we have mutual enemy, and I understand you clear absolutely. So I'm thankful for you that you are so brave to talk to the world about this pain, and don't be in silent. Keep going to talk. Thank you. Thank you very much. Be cool.
Хочет кто-то еще добавить?
Does anyone else want to add anything? If not,
I'm
Please,
here.
please.
Yeah, thank you for everyone for this festival. tomorrow we will go. So thank you very much. I'm very proud for my group because it's very emotional for us to work this novel and work this performance. Thank you, because it's need courage to speak about this topic, and I'm very proud for Potisieta, for my actors, for my technical group, and thank you all of very much. And it's very good that we must say that Abkhazia is Georgia and Samochablo is Georgia, and we must do it openly and openly in every point in the world. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
So again, thank you very much for that you came here. And Mart would like to talk about tomorrow. We will start at 10:30 when we're going to talk about Caucasus, and at 12 we're going to have a performance. This is not on the program here in our studio. There's going to be a performance. We're waiting for our guests to come, so I'm going to invite you at 12 o'clock. After the discussion, there was going to be a performance.